everyone. Welcome back to Nowhere Near Done. Today's guest is someone I've known since high school, but thanks to the funny way life works, we've reconnected here in Santa Barbara as adults. She's become one of my favorite follows on social media. If you've ever found yourself daydreaming over gorgeous photos of Paris, London, wine country weekends, beautiful hotels, and effortlessly chic outfits, chances are you've stumbled across Nicole Cline's Instagram. Nicole is a content creator, social media strategist, and former luxury hospitality professional who has spent more than a decade helping people discover beautiful places, experiences, and ways to live well. But what I love most about Nicole isn't the gorgeous photos or travel recommendations. Behind all of it is a really insightful, kind, and honest friend. In this episode, we talk about career pivots, burnout, leaving behind a job that no longer fits, redefining success in your 40s, and why freedom and flexibility can start to matter more than titles and traditional ideas of success. We also dive into the reality behind social media, why comparison can be so dangerous, and the truth that even the most beautiful feeds are still just curated highlights. And we have a really honest conversation about something I don't think we talk about enough: the choice to become a mother or not, and all the ways of becoming parents and creating families for ourselves. I hope this conversation inspires you to book a trip, rethink your priorities, and remember that it's never too late to change direction. Here's my conversation with Nicole. Nicole, thank you so much for joining me on Nowhere Near Done.
I'm so excited for this.
First, I wanted to get a little bit of background. I know you and I have known each other since high school. We both have since moved to Santa Barbara. How you ended up where you are and doing what you're doing.
I spent basically all of my 20s working in luxury hotels. And it was really that where I learned how much I loved travel and hospitality and recommendations for people.
Uh-huh.
And when I got so burnt out in that world, that is when I was like, okay, what's next for me? What else is out there? And in 2013, I started a blog, which was pretty new at the time, definitely the early days. And I started blogging really about style and fashion because that's what was in front of me. And I didn't even think about it in a context of travel and hospitality and my experience in that. I just thought about, okay, well, I love putting outfits together and styling and fashion. So I kind of started that way and launched my Instagram at the same time, which was also so new at the time and just kind of beginning. And 13 years later, I'm still sharing on Instagram. I think it has definitely shifted more towards lifestyle and travel content and has definitely shifted away from clothes being the primary focus and it being more about my life and where I go and favorite restaurants and favorite places to visit.
We love watching and living vicariously through you. You do such a good job of presenting everything in such a beautiful way. What people present on their social media pages versus the reality, I'm sure you have a lot of insight into that.
Just life in general. I think people tend to look at Instagram and compare themselves. I'm not wearing a new outfit every week, or I'm not staying at a 5-star resort. It's a highlight reel. And I think there's so much of my life that I don't share. And there's so many things that, my day-to-day life aren't the highlight reel. They're just the mundane parts of everyday life. And I don't share them. My first big pivot came when I was 30 and I was really reevaluating my time in hotels. I loved it. I thrived in it. I was really good at it. And I was so burned out. I was working 60 hours a week. I was on call, it felt like all the time, running front office operations in luxury hotels. One of my last jobs was celebrity relations for a hotel in LA, and my phone would ring at midnight with requests. I would get phone calls at 5 in the morning asking for things. I was working virtually every holiday, every weekend, and my friends were starting to get married and have babies, and I was missing bachelorette parties, and I was missing baby showers because I could only take so much time off. And I was like, okay, I'm 30. My career has been priority number one. I have forgotten to really find my personal life in that. I had great friends but my dating life was a disaster because I was always working. So I really started to burn out, think about leaving. At the time, I still really wanted to have kids. I was already late on my timeline that was in my head of like when I wanted to like find my person and start to have a family. I got recruited by Michael Kors. This was in 2014 as a brand vendor for a department store. This combines something I love and something I'm good at. I'm good at managing people and relationships, and I love clothes and bags and shoes and fashion. And I had already started my blog at that point. So I was like, all right, this could be fun. So I took that job, and that led to about 10 years of me working in retail and managing for brands and managing independently and doing some buying and getting into social media and client development for high-end brands. I did work for a year as an operations manager, and I swore I was done with retail also because it has some of the same challenges that I felt in hotels. But during the course of all of that retail life, I was also doing social media for small businesses on the side. I would get asked to run Instagrams for small hotels in Palm Springs. I would do some blog writing for hotels. I was doing some content creation, and I would just kind of like have clients here and there that would seek me out. But that's kind of when I did my like final pivot was like, I really am enjoying this. And it's giving me all the flexibility that I've always wanted, which is I just walked home from a workout at 9:30 in the morning. Like you can't do that when you work a corporate job. I was getting enough clients that I felt like I could really make a go of managing social media and content creation for clients and still doing my own social media. So that was kind of my final pivot in 2023. I was 41, just almost 42.
Once you've worked for yourself, once you've had that taste of freedom, it's
Freedom.
hard to imagine going
So
back
hard.
to work for someone else or for, corporate, like you said.
I remember walking out of high school and like going to college and being like, okay, I have to have a career for the next 40 years so that I have a retirement so that I can do all the things that I'm supposed to do. And somewhere in the last like 5 years, I think what I've realized is for me, the success and the wealth is being able to go to a workout in the middle of the day. It's being able to take a Friday off. It's being able to, yesterday I spent the day in Santa Barbara and I had lunch with my husband
Nice.
the middle of the day because I can work from anywhere. And just like things like that are more valuable to me at this point in my life than saying that I've worked a corporate job for 40 years.
I think that's exactly it. Our priorities shift, the things we put value in change.
We get so caught up in chasing the next thing, especially with social media, that it's hard to just stop and be present in the moment and recognize, like, wow, my trip to
Yeah.
Paris that I was in for 3 days, people are like, "Oh my god, this is like a dream. I wish I could do that, and how lucky am I that I do get to do that?" So I think getting caught up in always chasing something more is really challenging. I think the other thing that's challenging, and my husband has been along this journey really the whole time with
Yeah.
me, and so really early on, we had to figure out a balance between getting content because it's important to what I'm doing, but being present in the moment and not letting everything turn into, okay, let me take this picture for social media, post this. Like we had to kind of create some ground rules about it really early on. And I think that that's helped for me to be able to get what I need, but also really be present.
You're an innovator because you started your blog early on. Not everyone was doing that at the time. You were doing that before influencers were really influencers. Tell me about how it's changed.
The Instagram thing, like I actually was just talking to a friend about this. I remember being out at a bar in Redondo Beach with a bunch of my girlfriends, and everyone was talking about this new app, Instagram. This is 2011. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're all downloading it.
Uh-huh.
And I still have on my private Instagram the first post I took. And it was like some dumb photo. It meant nothing. We used a generic filter. We posted it. Nobody cared if you got any likes. It wasn't about that. It was really just about documenting your life and having some fun with it. One of the biggest transformations I've seen
Mhm.
is all of a sudden people expect a social media person, whether that's a content creator or somebody that they're hiring to run their social media, to be a photographer, a videographer, a photo editor, a freelance writer. Like there's an expectation that you can do the job of four people because we've all had to self teach ourselves the jobs of four people to stay on top of the trends as they keep coming.
It feels like it's evolving so quickly as we're getting into this new stage of life. We maybe have a little more freedom, whether it be financially or just because we have more wisdom to explore the things that we really feel passionate about and what we really want to do. But with that, there's this learning that happens. It can be about work, but it can also be just in terms of life. Is there anything that's sort of coming up for you that you're relearning or learning or reinventing?
I think it's more personal for me.
Mhm.
I really feel like in the last 5 years, I'm relearning how to shift my expectations of what life was supposed to look like in general.
Mhm.
And I think being like, I'm going to be 45 in January. So being in my mid 40s, there's this like vision of what I thought my life was going to look like at 18
Mhm.
versus what it looks like now. And I'm so proud of what it looks like.
Mhm.
But I think I'm still constantly evolving in my expectations, even now. Like having stepkids and having expectations that that relationship is going to look a certain way.
Mhm.
And it doesn't look always the way that I thought it would.
Mhm.
That my career was going to look a certain way, even the career that I've carved out and developed for myself,
Mhm.
and it starts to look different. So I think it's just really shifting expectations and having to relearn not putting so much pressure on things and to just let people be them, let life be life and not try to control it so much.
You mentioned the fact that you had at some point in your life you had wanted to have kids and you've chosen not to at
Yeah.
this point. I mean, there's you're only
Oh
45.
no,
But
there's according to my husband, there is no
nowhere.
chance of that happening whatsoever. No. Um,
But I don't know if that's something we talk
yes.
about. I know I have a friend who's in her late 30s, almost 40, and she was just talking to me about how she's at this like crossroads where she feels like she has to make this choice. And it's a big choice. And she's really not sure which
Yeah.
way she wants. Does she want to become a mother? Does she not? And if so, like, what does that even look like? Does she want to have her biological children? Does she not? Like, there's so many ways of becoming a parent now.
There's so many ways.
So yeah, I would love to kind of dive into that with you. What was that choice like? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, I always wanted kids. I've always like I was babysitting in middle school, in high school, I babysat for the same two little girls like every weekend. I nannied in college. Like having children was like never a question for me.
Hmm.
What the question became, and there's actually a line from Sex and the City, which is so cliche, but
There's always a
um,
great, perfect line.
there's
You're
always,
very
I know. Um, my husband and I had been dating about a month,
Mhm.
and I think each of us recognized that things were getting serious, and it was more than just casually dating.
Uh-huh.
And he said to me, "There's two things that I think you need to know, and it's I don't want to get married again, and I am done having children." In my early 30s at this
Got
point,
it.
and I was like, "Okay, let me share what's important to me.
Mhm.
I will get married. Like I that's a non-negotiable for me. There's so many things about
Mhm.
making the decision to fully commit to your partner that were really important to me, and
Yeah.
that was like that's staying on the table, otherwise this isn't gonna work." But
Okay.
I had dated somebody before him who had also said that he did not want to have kids, and I had already kind of started to ask myself, like, "Why do I think I want kids? What's the reason? What is it about?" And I couldn't really come up with anything other than, "I'm supposed to. I'm a woman." That's like my body is built to make babies and make life. And I couldn't really come up with anything other than that. And so when my husband said that to me, I was like, "Okay." Like, I think I've already compartmentalized this and I'm okay with it. But I'll be honest, like, and my husband and I have talked about this and it comes up occasionally. Like, there are times where a part of me is like, did I make the right decision? And will I regret this one day? Will I wake up at 60 and be like, why didn't I do that? That was so dumb of me. But I think the line from Sex and the City is, how do I give up a man I know I love for a baby I don't even know that I can have or want? And I think that that's kind of how I looked at it at that point was I knew that my husband was my person. And how do you walk away from that for a maybe? So I think that's kind of how I got there. But I'll be honest, my grandparents raised me, and 2 years ago, my grandpa died. And it really brought up so many feelings about my own mortality and my
Mm.
legacy and what not having children means. And it was a wild year kind of processing, like, who takes care of me when I get to that point? Like, what does that look like for me as somebody who's married to a person who's older and who doesn't have children? And it was a really scary realization, but I don't think we should have children just so that they can take care of us in our old age.
We all have to grapple with that. And I mean, having kids doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a relationship with them when they get older. After grappling with that for a while, anything that gives you peace.
Having a child is no guarantee of a relationship with them at any point in their life. I know that firsthand as somebody who was raised by their grandparent who doesn't have a relationship with their mother. And I just had to remind myself of that. Like, my mother has children that don't have relationships. So, like, that's not a guarantee. I think having two really close girlfriends, like two of my very best friends also don't have children. And I think the joking conversations that the three of us have of like when we're the Golden Girls and we just like all live in a fabulous house together and like we'll just take care of each other. And, you know, I don't know that I have wrapped my head around what the solution to that looks like, but I think I've come to peace with the fact that I'm not the only person who is in this boat. Other people figure it out and it's okay. And legacy can look so different in so many ways. And legacy doesn't have to be my child that carries on my family's legacy.
Some of my favorite relationships that I have are with the women in my life. We have some really inspirational women who are older to look up to, who have created these incredible lives, these beautiful lives with each other.
I do too. One of my really good friends was trying, she went through freezing her eggs and the whole thing, and she just had a baby. And she's so happy. And I'm so excited for that chapter of her life. And my friends that are step parents, like, I just feel like none of us can sit and judge or say that like our approach is the right approach and somebody else's isn't. Like, I think we should be celebrating each other's choices, no matter what they look like. And
I would love to dive now into perimenopause.
yeah, let's get into
I'm
it.
curious to know, what has your experience been like?
I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's 5 years ago. So as I've talked to my doctors of like these symptoms of perimenopause, that I'm like, is it perimenopause? Is it my autoimmune? There's so much similarity. And there are also so many symptoms that are just general symptoms. Like, I feel fatigued. I'm gaining weight. My sleep is weird. Like, some nights I sleep great. Some nights I'm up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. And is it perimenopause? Is it autoimmune?
Yeah.
Like, am I just tired today? Let's look at my blood panel. What are my thyroid levels looking like? Okay, those look good. So maybe it, just kind of muddling through the murkiness of the symptoms. I will tell you, I don't know the exact statistic. I should know it because I talk about this so often with people. Women are significantly more likely to have autoimmune conditions than men. Like, it's like a crazy percentage more women than men. My sister also has Hashimoto's. She was diagnosed almost 20 years ago. I knew that it's in my family. There's a chance that that was what it was. I found my first doctor. She did some blood panels and an ultrasound on my thyroid and called me and was like, okay, so you have Hashimoto's, but all your levels are so low that we're just going to take a wait and see approach, which is objectively good. My levels are low. This isn't concerning, but also wait and see for what? We're going to wait and see how much more weight I'm going to gain. We're going to wait and see when my body attacks my thyroid and it totally dies. Like, what exactly are we waiting for here? So she was sending me every 3 months for blood work. And
Mhm.
about a year later, I was like, okay, I'm working out. I went gluten free. I went dairy free. Like I changed my whole diet. I was working out and I was
Mm,
still just gaining weight and feeling so sluggish.
mm.
So like the brain fog was so real. Like I would go through a whole work day and be like, wait, did I do when did I do that? Did I proofread that before I sent that? And so I found a new doctor who has been much more receptive and open, but it's still unfortunately a constant battle of which I think is perimenopause also of having to advocate for no, I'm not just tired. No, I don't need to just exercise more. No, I don't need to just not eat as much. Like there are other things going on in my body that need attention and just saying go to the gym and eat better isn't going to cut it for either.
We know our body is the best. Even if the blood work comes back saying it's completely normal, you can tell
Yes,
that something is off in your body. And so it's really frustrating when you go to a physician and they basically tell you there's
I just
nothing
had
wrong.
my annual checkup with my doctor and I, like openly was just like let's talk about perimenopause. Like I a girlfriend took me to this women's forum last year with a functional health doctor who was talking about perimenopause and the benefits of GLP-1s. And I saw my OBGYN and she's like, no, you don't seem like you're displaying any symptoms. So I asked my general doctor and she's like, well, those are symptoms of Hashimoto's. And like, even our doctors don't really know what they're looking for. And you add in a person who doesn't have a relationship with their mother to have these benchmarks of like, when did my mom go through menopause? Like, when did these things start for her? Adds another layer of just ambiguity to it. That's really interesting because
Mhm.
it's one of the first questions my doctors ask is, well, when did your mom go through menopause? Because then we can figure out for you. And when you don't have that information, you know, they're just like, maybe you're just tired. Since I've been on a GLP-1, I haven't
Yeah.
had the joint pain that I used to have. I just remember you talking about that as one of your early symptoms.
My experience with like perimenopause and GLP-1s, they're seeing all of these benefits, just like you said. I do think the more we study it, they're going to realize it has so many benefits.
I think there's so many benefits to it that we haven't even tapped into yet, like
Mhm.
inflammation, the joint pain, the autoimmune markers, perimenopause. Like it is
Mm.
honestly the most amazing drug that I think we've seen in such a long time.
I always say it was life changing for me. I feel like it just kind of gave me back this hopefulness and realization that like I still have lots of life to live and I don't have to feel bad all the time. I don't have to feel sluggish and in pain.
The pain subsiding, the muscle stiffness and like the joint stiffness subsiding. Like I have in that same time started doing Pilates and Legree, and I don't know that I would have been able to do it in the same way had I not been on that medication. And those two things have been so life changing for me in like my mental headspace around just like my day to day life, being able to disconnect in a workout for an hour and just be present for myself.
So true. Finally, I wanted to try something different. I haven't done this yet, but kind of liked this idea for you because of your travel background in social media. I have fast fire questions to ask you. Most overrated destination.
Honestly, I don't know that there is an overrated destination. I think every destination has something. I think there are overrated places within a destination. And I think even in Paris, like everyone's like, "Oh my god, did you go to the top of the Eiffel Tower?" I think that is overrated. I didn't do it, but why would I stand in line and pay all this money to go on top of the thing that everybody wants to see?
That's a good point. One thing that is always in your carry on.
Oh, this is like not cute at all, but I get really bad sinus headaches when we take off and land. So I always have Sudafed and Flonase to help with my awful, awful headaches that I get at landing.
Favorite destination.
Ooh, can I have two? I think Paris. Paris is definitely that was my first trip. Paris is definitely my favorite place I've ever been. It's so magical. I loved it even more than I thought I would. But San Jose del Cabo, like that's a new favorite. We've gone 4 times in the last year, and it is just like the most relaxing, soul recharging escape.
Okay, I'm putting it on my
Yes.
list. Okay, current perimenopause survival tool.
My GLP-1, I really believe that it is helping, like, it is helping so many aspects of my body that I am not even aware it's helping. So that's mine.
Habit that's changed your life.
Pilates. It's really been very life-changing, and just being present for myself in that hour and really, like, focusing on my body, my movement, my alignment, my posture, just all of it has been it really is like an hour to reset every part of me.
That's one thing I need to start doing because I know I'm just
I'll go
need to
with
be
you
doing it.
anytime.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, I love it. Okay, and then one word that describes this chapter of life for you.
One word. Exciting.
Okay, I
Yeah,
love
I think
that.
it's exciting.
This podcast is called Nowhere Near Done. What is something in your life, your work, or yourself that you feel like you are still becoming?
I think I'm still becoming the best person and the best version of myself that I can be. I think I'm constantly working on like my physical self, my mental self, my intellectual self. I have a therapist that I think the world of that helps me with all of my past trauma things to be a better version of myself. And I think that, yeah, just I'm nowhere near done becoming the best version of me.
Something that you might want to impart on other women who might be listening?
I was just going to say, I think the only thing that I would impart to somebody who's listening is finding a way to trust your own confidence. Like you've said it about our bodies and knowing our bodies the best. We know our bodies, ourselves, and our minds. And I think if we can get out of our own way of doubting ourselves, I find that in all of my female relationships, our own self doubt is what is keeping us back more than anything in health, in relationships, in life, in careers, in workouts. Like it's our own insecurity and self doubt.
So true. I love that you put that so well. So good
Yeah.
to talk to you. You had so
You
many
too.
amazing insights, and I'm so
Thank
grateful
you.
for you.
And let me
Okay.
know when you want to do Pilates.
Okay, I will. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I thank you. That was Nicole Cline. I think what stayed with me after this conversation is what she said about how our definition of success changes. So many of us grew up believing success looked like the perfect job title, climbing the corporate ladder, or checking all the boxes in the right order. And then somewhere along the way, especially in midlife, we start asking different questions. Do I have time for the people I love? Do I have freedom? Do I enjoy my everyday life? Am I creating a life that actually feels good? I also loved our conversation about social media and comparison because it's such a good reminder that we're all seeing snapshots of each other's lives, not the whole picture. And at the same time, we can appreciate someone else's beautiful life without believing ours isn't beautiful too. I hope this episode inspires you to give yourself permission to pivot, redefine success, and create a life that feels aligned with who you are now, not who you thought you were supposed to be. I'd love to hear from you on this one. Have you reinvented yourself, changed careers, redefined success, or are you in the middle of figuring out what you want in this next chapter of life? Come find me on Instagram, send me a message, or leave a comment. These conversations are always better when more women join in. Sometimes all it takes is hearing someone else's story to realize you are, in fact, nowhere near done. We'll see you next time.